Recently, a popular MTG YouTuber said that Marvin Murderous Mimic breaks the game and causes a rules problem that is apparently not yet solved and there isn't a definitive answer. But I'm here to break it to you that Marvin does not break the game, there is no rules problem, and yes, there is a definitive answer, which has actually been around for at least the last 10 years. And this is all thanks to my favourite section of the rules, section 613, Interaction of Continuous Effects. Yes, you better believe we're talking about layers again. Let's break it down. So this supposed problem involves two cards, Marvin Murderous Mimic, a 2-mana 2/2 legendary artifact creature which says, Marvin has all activated abilities of creatures you control that don't have the same name as this creature. And just to clarify, an activated ability is an ability that has a cost on the left, a colon in the middle, and then the result of paying that cost on the right. We're then going to copy Marvin with Sakashima the Imposter, a 4-mana legendary 3/1 that says, you may have Sakashima the Imposter enter as a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except its name is Sakashima the Imposter. It's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has pay 4, return this creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Now, it's important to note that the reason we're using Sakashima the Imposter instead of something like Spark Double is because Sakashima retains their name. If you use something like Spark Double or Irenicus's Vile Duplication on Marvin, the copy would have the name Marvin Murderous Mimic, and Marvin explicitly states that they won't copy the activated abilities from creatures with the same name as them. Now of course, you can use Psychic Paper to get around this. So here's the supposed issue. With Marvin and Sakashima copying Marvin in play, what do they look like after we resolve a Llanowar Elf, or any other creature with an activated ability? Marvin will gain the Elf's ability, and so will Sakashima, but then Marvin will copy Sakashima's ability to get another instance of tap add green, and then Sakashima will see Marvin's ability, so will Sakashima now have 3 instances of tap add green, and then will Marvin see Sakashima with 3 abilities, and so you can see where this is going. Effectively, the question is, do Marvin and Sakashima copy each other infinitely? Do they have an infinite number of each activated ability? The YouTuber notes that this is important because some abilities, like the one on Beledros, pay 10 life, untap all your lands, have the restriction of activate only once each turn. So having multiple instances of this activated ability effectively gets around this restriction. So what's the answer here? As I said, we have to turn to the comprehensive rules and look at section 613, the interaction of continuous effects. That's what we're dealing with here. Anything that changes the printed text on a card is a continuous effect. Marvin gaining activated abilities and Sakashima becoming a copy of something are 2 examples of this. Now, while I'm not going to give a complete guide on layers here, all you need to know is that there are 7 different categories of continuous effects, and we apply them in order from top to bottom of the layers list. This is the layers system. These layers are applied constantly, continuously, and instantly. And this is exactly why Sakashima can become a copy of Marvin and then gain the activated abilities of everything. Now the issue we run into is that once Sakashima is a copy of Marvin, both of them will want to gain their abilities on layer 6, adding and removing abilities. Now usually when we have 2 abilities that apply on the same layer, we apply them in timestamp order. For creatures, most of the time that simply means whichever creature was in play first will have the earlier timestamp and get applied first. And for those who are going to ask in the comments, if they both entered play at the same time under your control, you choose which has the earlier timestamp. However, in this case, we actually run into something called a dependency. A dependency is when one card's effect will influence and change the outcome of another card's effect on the same layer. A classic example of this is Urborg and Blood Moon. Blood Moon doesn't care when Urborg was played, but Urborg 100% cares about when Blood Moon was played. In this case, Urborg is dependent on Blood Moon, so Blood Moon's effect will always apply first thanks to rule 613.8. Turning Urborg into a non-basic mountain, and lands won't gain the Urborg Swamp bonus. Going back to the Marvin Sakashima example, the comprehensive rules actually give us a 3-step check to see if something is a dependency. Step 1. Are the effects applied on the same layer? In this case, yes. Both of these abilities are applied on layer 6. Step 2. Would applying the other change the text or the existence of the first effect, what it applies to, or what it does to any of the things it applies to? Yes, both Marvin and Sakashima's effect will change the other's effect. Step 3. Are either of these effects from a characteristic defining ability? Nice and easy. Nope. Usually we just stop here and apply the independent effect first and be done with it, like in the Blood Moon Urborg example. However, because both Marvin and Sakashima are dependent on each other, a loop is formed. So which do we apply first? Thankfully, Rule 613.8b simply states, if several dependent effects form a dependency loop, then this rule is ignored and the effects in the dependency loop are applied in timestamp order. So assuming we played Marvin first, thus they have the earlier timestamp, we'll apply Marvin's effect once, then we'll apply Sakashima's version of the effect once as well, giving us this end result, which we'll break down. So we have Marvin in play and a Sakashima copy of them. There is a Llanowar Elves in play. We apply Marvin's ability first. Marvin will copy the Elves ability and gain tap, add a green. Then we'll apply Sakashima's ability. They'll gain their pay 4, return this creature to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step ability. Then they'll gain tap, add a green from Llanowar Elves. Then they'll gain tap, add a green from Marvin. So the end result is Marvin will have a single copy of every activated ability, and Sakashima will have 2 copies of every activated ability. 1 set from the creatures with those abilities, and 1 set from Marvin. Now, the numbers start to get out of hand if you start adding more Marvins with different names thanks to Psychic Paper. The third Marvin would have 4 abilities, 1 set from the creatures, 1 set from the original Marvin, and 2 from the Sakashima Marvin. The next would have 8, the next would have 16, and so on and so forth. Hello, this is Editor Tom here. I just wanted to point out, as this has confused people in the past, if any other creatures with activated abilities are played in future turns, the Layers program, as I like to call it, will be ran again and Sakashima and Marvin will get the new abilities added to them. Anytime anything happens, the Layers program is ran, checked, and updated. So there you have it. Marvin and Sakashima don't break the game, they don't create a rules problem, and as you've just watched, there is a definitive answer. Are there any other card interactions you want me to explain? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you've learned something, like the video, and subscribe, because if you don't, Marvin will find you tonight. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.